Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast, Congested Brain. It's your host, Denise. I don't think I've actually ever said my name formally, so also I know most of you guys that listen to this already know who I am, but just so you guys know, just in case if there's anyone, my name's Denise. But yeah, we're back on this. It's episode 5 now. I realize that I need to start taking this more as a responsibility because I'm constantly thinking about things I want to like say on the podcast or topics I want to hit over or like cool little projects and ideas, and I just don't take it anywhere. So I think now it's time to make something out of this and make all those thoughts happen, because why not, dude? It'd be cool. I think I want to get more people involved. I want to have people come on here and like talk with me, and but I need the practice. So yeah, if any of you guys have anything interesting, or maybe feel like jumping in and wanting to discuss something, or just a little anything, open to it. I'm also looking for someone to help me out with the design, because I don't really like what I have for my display at the moment, but it'll do. I had a couple of people say they would be down, and I don't have that much money, so I'm only offering to give you full credit for it and like promoting you or whatever. I'm not that famous, so I don't know if it matters, but it's a thought that counts. If not, it's cool. Just putting that out there. But aside from that, what did I want to? Oh yeah, so I was talking to a friend the other day, and it's kind of funny. I feel like I grew up thinking this was like maybe not real, or like maybe a little far fetched, I would say. But I think as I came to understand, or I guess not understand, but be more educated in like science, it started making sense. And what I'm talking about right now is evolution. And I had asked my friend, and it's so funny because I asked my friend if he believed in evolution, and he said, pretty much the same thing, like, yes, but to some extent, blah, 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 something along those lines. But I don't know, like, when I was younger and they told me, like, that we possibly came from monkeys, I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, there's no way. And I'm not saying that that is the case, but I have, like, this theory because of the things I read. I feel like I started putting, like, two and two together. And maybe it sounds crazy, but maybe to me it sounds a little plausible. I don't have any actual research on this, so just, think about that. This is just, I guess I have some research on it, but not purposefully. Like, I haven't looked into, like, the dynamics and, like, all these things and similarities between us and, like, certain primates. But I have read things that, came together, and I was like, hey, I read this here, I read that there. They're the same topic. Interesting. So, yeah. So if you follow me on Instagram, I don't know if most of you saw it, but a few months ago or like a month ago, I posted this like a screenshot of like an article about how there's this artifact found in like Central Europe or something like that, that dated back. It was a tooth of some sort that dated back to like, excuse me, further than what we were already here. And not only that, but this tooth was a huge deal because it resembled one of the, like an African tribe member that has been known to be here for like one of the first people to be known to be alive in this planet. And that they also resemble a certain type of monkey that was also very, they go back like to one of our originals, and they're the bonobos, and they're known because the bonobos are actually the ones that have more in common with humans and other animals, and they have very close similar DNA, especially this African tribe and these bonobos. And no, I'm not saying anything racist here. If anyone's gonna like take anything too sensitive, I have to say it because I feel like it's a sensitive time. But this are just things I read, on these research pages and on Reddit that I came together, and it made sense to me. So I figured I should share with you guys. But as I was saying, so yeah, so these, basically in summary, these ape-like teeth that resemble this African tribe, very, I think it was like 9 million years ago. It dates back to, were found, and they're seen shocking resemblances between the both. And, it's a crazy idea that I can understand why it's so hard to believe, because we really, if that's the case, we really have evolved to a point of like a whole new species, which I feel is possible, to be fair. I mean, that's just my opinion. But yeah, like us humans, we've come to see ourselves and only come to know ourselves so far back. Like, we've learned about Renaissance times and medieval times and times before Christ, but what about all those times before that? Like, there's still so much missing in that time frame. We don't know anything really before Jesus Christ, I feel, or at least I don't. Do any of you guys? Like, it's such a crazy idea that we just came and became society. Like, no, I don't think so. We definitely know that we've traded far back to a point where there was dinosaurs, but I haven't seen much about too many humans, at that same time period. And I want to know more about the primates in that time period and where they ended up, or like where is their rooting families now, and like where do all these crazy things. Maybe I do need to sit down and do my research. Maybe the answers are out there and I'm being ignorant, but this is just something I was really like thinking about, and I felt it was worth sharing. But yeah, so that leads back into what I was saying. So all these things, and like you think it's not possible, but if you ever actually started looking into like evolutionary biology, that shit's real, and like we see it in other animals all the time. So it baffles me that why we don't apply that to ourselves. At least give it a chance to think about it. If you're super like anti-evolution, and which you can be for many reasons, but like I think it makes sense. Like, and to put it simply, like we learned about permutations and combinations, and we have a DNA that works in the same way. Like, our DNAs are all different. That's what makes us all special. Our own very like ourselves, because we have different combinations of that same DNA. But who's to say that we couldn't develop to this point by mistake? Like, I feel like there's so many creatures that are born, and sometimes unfortunately they don't get to live a long lifespan when they are you know like defective, or they have like all these things wrong with them. They usually don't tend to live for long. But who's to say that humans couldn't? Like, our bodies are insane. They could have probably surpassed a lot of, or not surpassed, but could have adapted very easily. We come to see that, I think, as humans, we're probably like the more adaptable creatures on this earth. And it's a privilege, and it puts us on the top of the food chain, which is crazy. So I think the theory still kind of fits. Like, if you think about it, what if, monkeys, these bonobos, a long time started, changing their ways of looking because of their environment they were exposed to. When they discovered fire, what did the gas in that fire do to the land? How did it affect the purity of the air? Like, I don't know, maybe it is going very far. Maybe I've thought about this way too long that it sounds like a fantasy almost. But like, I just feel like somehow, some way, I wouldn't know, it'd be possible that there's some kind of mutation that happened, or like, some kind of like defect in one of these primates that made them develop more intellectually and more adaptable, and they started, they have a further understanding. And not only that, and they started learning how to communicate by using different sounds, and all these crazy things that we know about, like all these stone drawings and walls and scriptures and whatnot that we've spent years trying to decipher. Like, why can't that be a possibility that I don't hear a lot of people talk more about? I guess, I don't know, maybe it does sound crazy, but I don't care. Like, I just think it makes sense, to be honest. Because if you think about it, if you really think about us now, like as people as we are right now. And it's facts that most people who have what is it like certain defects are actually now traits that we look into as into some people. Like blue eyes, that's something that actually happens because of a mutation in like your DNA. Not saying that you're like something's wrong with you, but that's just a change that happened because it didn't go the way it usually does in DNA wise, I guess. I wouldn't know how to put it in other words. And the same with, albino people. Like I said again, nothing racist, but, those are all defective DNAs, really, because that's what it is. It's a mutation. Yeah, that's what it is. It's considered a mutation. And if you don't believe me, you could probably look into it. You'd probably read online about it, or ask your science teacher somewhere. Maybe I was taught wrong and I read the wrong things. And maybe you could prove me wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, so you could what is it called? Be a myth buster to my theory. But yeah, like I think we don't think about those things as such a stretch because we see it in people when it's actually something we like and it's attractive trait. But those are mutations, and who's to say that we mutated for the better? Like, I don't see why that's not a possibility. And yeah, so I just feel like it makes sense. Like evolutionary biology, we see a lot of resemblance in these like tribes, and it's already been given or said supposedly that Africans were the first people here. Supposedly, I haven't looked into it, so I can't go further into detail to prove that. But I read that somewhere headlining on some article as I was going through all this other stuff, and it's pretty crazy to think about. But to be fair, I feel like at this point, any story that involves our origin as people is crazy to think about because we can't fathom. We cannot understand the complexity yet simplicity of how things are because we overanalyze everything. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I do that too with everything, but just generally thinking about like where we came from specifically, there's so many different ways we could have came from. There's so many possibilities because at this point we've seen so many things. And then imagine with all the technology we have. Like, sorry, I just thought about this, but how I was saying earlier, like, some creatures that have came about now, as we come to find out, don't get to live long because of these certain mutations in their system. Doesn't it affects their health, blah 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 blah. And but with the technology we have now too, like, what if we find the solution for those mutations that kill certain animals? Then we're gonna start having like two-headed snakes be a normal thing. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's been two-headed babies. Like, who said what? Why can't it be possible that maybe in 1,000 years from now humans are gonna have two heads instead, and three arms? And so I don't know. It's funny and it sounds ridiculous, but like it's almost even weird to visualize. But have you seen how many weird animals we have on this planet already? And all because they're all descendants from all these crazy like mammals and amphibians and all those, it's so crazy. Like all the fishes, like so many animals in the sea look terrifying to me, and some of them look prehistoric, and you could see it in them. Birds are supposedly like also prehistoric creatures. They've been around since like pterodactyls and all that. And there's just there's that line of family that we see, and I just think we really are all connected. Like, I don't feel like we're all that far from each other. Maybe just some of us evolved to be better species than the other ones. Like, dogs aren't that far behind us. Dogs are so smart. They just don't communicate. Like, if you could make it so dogs could talk, which I also feel could be possible, and I guess this is where you could start thinking I'm crazy. But I mean, think about it. Like, we've managed to make like parrots, or what is it? Those birds that talk. Is it parakeets or right? I think so. But yeah, like we could do it with other things, and like through, how we learned in psychology, like that whole, was it Pavlov's conditioning or whatever? Like, I think they're smart enough to catch on. They're smart enough to see the patterns and to understand that maybe they can't teach themselves, but we could probably teach them because we were able to somehow come this far on our own. And imagine if we could train them with the right amount of like training, the things they could do. We've come to see it now just with minimal training, with house training and whatnot. Like, they're understandable creatures, and just because they can't talk doesn't mean they're any more or less stupid than we are. Just because they can't do certain things, can't move certain ways, doesn't mean they can't. They they're not as intelligent. And I think that's why we probably feel like we're the superior race, but really, like, we really don't know. We've come to realize that a lot of animals are actually really smart, and you know why? Because their way of learning is through experience and survival, and you know, understanding themselves through these patterns in what they live. You know, they have to. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to tell each other, and they have to look for signs. They have to, for themselves. Like it's so insane. Like they have their own way of communicating amongst themselves, but to get further than that, it's hard. But that's what I'm saying. Like even dogs themselves, like they've evolved from other animals, and we've seen what are the mutts when you mix different types of like animals and or different types of animals. Sorry, different breeds of dogs. I speak like I'm in fifth grade sometimes. I apologize, but yeah, like there's so many possibilities. I guess at the end of the day, that's really what excites me. That there's so many possibilities, and imagine if we could determine to be one, or what if we determine to be all? Like who knows how many different things have affected us to this point to put us where we are now. It's such a crazy thought to think because there's no end to it. I feel, and it drives me crazy, which is probably why I get like stuck on these thoughts all the time. But yeah, like I want to know where you guys stand with that. I know there's a lot of, when I was going to Bible studies and stuff, I was told that evolution was like a myth and that it wasn't real and it's not possible under God's law or whatever. And I've come to see, I guess, their logic, but I feel like this makes more sense to me. And maybe you guys believe in neither science or religion, or believe in science and not religion, and still don't believe in evolution. I want to know why. I want to know where. Like, I want to contradict my theory to see whether or not I'm just fantasizing about the idea that we came from some sort of apes. Like I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just an interesting topic, I guess, and I've thought about it long enough. So let me know what you guys think. I'm only going to leave it with this today because I feel like it's kind of overwhelming. But yeah, thanks for listening in. I hope you guys have an amazing day.